Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. And today we'll be discussing the theory related to the chapter human reproduction. So this is the part 1 of the lecture. Before starting this lecture, I just want to give you one information that the images, text and other materials used in the presentations are for education purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathee@itk.ac.in and we shall remove the content immediately. Please note that the parts of the content may have been generated using generative AI, which is experimental. So what are the objective of this lecture? What we will study, what we will understand in this session. So this session focuses on the male reproductive system. Okay, so we'll talk about the parts of the male reproductive system, and we will understand different parts of the male reproductive system. We will discuss the functions of the different part of male reproductive system. Okay, so here we are going to enlist the names, means the parts of the male reproductive system, and then I'll explain you the structure of different part of the male reproductive system. Okay, by structure we mean the anatomy as well as the morphology, external structure and the internal structure. Okay, so we'll study these. We'll study different part of male reproductive system. We'll talk about the primary sex organ. We'll talk about the accessory ducts and the accessory glands here. Now, next is to explain and correlate the part of the male reproductive system with its function. Means we will understand the function of different parts of the male reproductive system. So as I have told you, the reproductive system, okay, the male reproductive system consists of the primary sex organ, accessory ducts and accessory glands. Okay, we'll talk about the function of all of these in this session. Now, we will understand the male reproductive system with the help of diagram, and we will observe the duct system of the human males, means the accessory duct system. We'll talk about how this duct system or what is the function of this duct system in male reproductive system. Okay, so we will be talking about the male reproductive system in this lecture, and in the end we will summarize this entire lecture. We'll talk about the main points regarding to the male reproductive system. So we are aware that humans are sexually reproducing and viviparous. So let me first introduce you to this chapter, human reproduction. Humans are sexually reproducing and they are viviparous. So you can underline these two words. These are very important. Okay, before understanding the reproductive system, you should know why reproduction is important. Why any living organism reproduce. So reproduction is important to maintain the species. By reproduction, any species or the living organism, they increase their number. Okay, so reproduction is very important for maintenance of a particular species. Okay, reproduction can be of two types: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, what happens? One parent is involved, means a uniparental condition is there, and the progeny or the offerings which are produced, they are genetically identical to themselves and they are genetically identical to their parents also. means clones are produced by asexual reproduction. These clones, they are genetically identical to the parents. Then there is sexual reproduction. Now humans, they are saying they are sexually reproducing. In sexual reproduction, what happens? Two parents are involved. Means a biparental condition is there. These two parents will produce gametes. One is male gamete, another one is the female gamete. Then fertilization takes place. What is fertilization? Fusion of the male and the female gametes. So there is the fertilization of the male and the female gametes, which leads to the formation of a diploid structure, which is known as the zygote. So again, remember, zygote is a unicellular diploid structure. Okay. Diploid means it has two sets of chromosomes. Okay. Then after zygote formation, what happens? Embryo is formed, and from the embryo, entire organism develops. Now, you must also be knowing that by sexual reproduction, variations occur. So like in asexual reproduction, clones are produced. In sexual reproduction, the progeny or the offerings which are produced, they are not genetically identical to the parents. They show some variations. Okay, so how these variations arise in the sexual reproduction? So first of all, two parents are involved. So you can say the genome of the two parents, the nucleic acid, the genetic material of the two parents, they combine with each other. So this is the first source of variation. Then what is the other source of variation? Now in sexual reproduction, gametes are formed. These gametes are formed due to meiosis. Okay. And meiosis involves crossing over and recombination. In crossing over and in recombination, what happens? There is the exchange of the genetic material. So this is another source of variation during sexual reproduction. Okay, so humans, they are sexually reproducing. You should know the characteristic feature of sexual reproduction, and they are viviparous. Now, what do you mean by viviparous? So viviparous means they give birth to young ones. Now, the reproductive events in humans include formation of gametes. We are talking about the reproductive events in humans now. First is the formation of the gametes, the male and the female gametes, which are haploid. So these gametes are produced by meiosis. Meiosis is known as reductional division. So these gametes are haploid as they are produced by meiosis. Their haploid means they consist of one set of chromosome. The formation of gamete is known as gametogenesis. Okay. So sperms are produced in males and ovum, this is produced in the females. Ovum, or you can say egg. Okay. Next is now the gametes have been produced. Now how the gamete will fuse with each other? So they have to meet in order to fuse with each other. The second is the transfer of the sperms into the female genital tract. And this process is known as insemination. Okay. So after gametogenesis, next step is insemination. Okay. What is the organ involved in insemination? Penis. This is a copulatory organ. This is involved in the insemination. So this penis has specialized kind of tissue, and it helps in the erection of the penis, which is very important for the insemination. Now after insemination, what happens? Fusion of the male and the female gametes, which is known as fertilization. Okay. Then fertilization leads to the formation of a diploid structure known as the zygote. So zygote will be 2n, means it have two sets of the chromosomes. Okay. Now the zygote has been formed. After zygote, what happens? There is the formation of the blastocyst. Okay. Then this blastocyst gets attached to the endometrium of the uterus. So uterus have three walls. Okay. What are these three walls? Outer wall is the perimetrium, the middle wall is the myometrium, inner wall is the endometrium. So blastocyst, it attaches to the endometrium. Clear? Which is one of the layer of the uterus. This process is known as implantation. Attachment of the blastocyst to the uterine wall. Implantation is very important for the pregnancy. Now, after implantation, next step is gestation, which is the development of the embryo. So during gestation, the embryo development takes place. In humans, the gestation period is 9 months. So this gestation period varies in different animals. Okay. Now the last one is the parturition, which is the delivery of the baby. So what are the reproductive events in humans? The first is gametogenesis. Next is the insemination. Then fertilization. Then formation of blastocyst, or you can say implantation. Then gestation, and then parturition. So you should remember this sequence. A question can come from here. Okay, what are the correct reproductive events, or what is the correct sequence of reproductive events in the humans? Clear? All right. So you should know the definition of all of these. Gametogenesis, formation of gamete. Insemination, transfer of sperm into female genital tract. Okay. Fertilization is the fusion of the male and the female gamete. What is implantation? Okay, we'll talk about implantation in our further lectures also. So for now, remember that implantation is the attachment of the blastocyst to the uterine wall. So this uterus has three walls. Outermost is the perimetrium, then middle layer is the myometrium, and innermost layer is known as the endometrium. So blastocyst will attach to the endometrium, innermost wall of the uterus. This is known as implantation. Okay, clear? Now after implantation, next step is gestation and then parturition, which is the childbirth. Okay, what is parturition? Delivery of a baby, or you can say childbirth. So you should remember all these scientific terms. Now, you have learned that these reproductive events occur after the puberty. So first of all, what is puberty? Puberty, okay, after puberty, what happens, or when any organism it attains puberty, means that organism, that a person or that person have attained sexual maturity. The person is reproductively active. It is sexually mature. It can give rise to offerings. So this puberty is a, you can say, it is a process. Okay, or it is the time of the life where lot of hormonal changes occurs, lot of morphological changes occur. Okay, and when the person attains puberty, then the person becomes sexually active. Here, lot of hormonal changes occurs, lot of hormones are synthesized. These hormones lead to the development of secondary sexual characteristics. Okay. Now in females, breast development is a kind of morphological change. So this is one of the secondary sexual characteristic. which appears first in the females. So it is one of the first secondary sexual characteristic which appear in the female. Then onset of menstrual cycle, pubic hairs. These are all secondary sexual characteristic in female. In males, what are secondary sexual characteristic? Again, pubic hair, facial hairs. Okay, deepening of the voice. Okay, so all these reproductive events occur after the puberty. At puberty, the primary sex organs, okay, they become active, they start secreting the hormones. We'll talk about the primary sex organs also. So these are testes in males and ovaries in the females. Now, there is a remarkable differences between the reproductive events in the male and in the female. For example, sperm formation continues even in the old man. Okay. So you can see sperm formation is even occurring in an old man, although the sperms will have less viability in the old ages. But the formation of the ovum or the egg, it ceases, means it stops in the woman around the age of 50 years. Now let us examine the male and the female reproductive system in the humans. So in this chapter, okay, first of all, we'll talk about the male and the female reproductive systems. And then we'll talk about the gametogenesis, okay, and rest of the topics here. So in this session, we'll focus on the male reproductive system. Okay, we are talking about the male reproductive system here. So what is the location of the male reproductive system? The male reproductive system is located in the pelvis region. Now, it includes a pair of testes along with accessory ducts, glands, and the external genitalia. Okay. So this is very important line here. So what does the male reproductive system consist of? Now you can see here, it consists of a pair of testes, means two testes are present. Okay, testes, they are the primary sex organs. Now why they are called primary sex organs? Because within the testes, sperm production takes place, which is known as spermatogenesis. Okay. And testes also secrete hormones such as testosterone. Okay. So we'll talk about this also, which cells secrete testosterone. So there are certain cells, Leydig cells, which secrete testosterone. They are present within the testes. Then this is the primary sex organ, testes. Along with testes, accessory ducts are present, accessory glands are present, and external genitalia is also present. So we'll talk about all of these in this session today. So first of all, testes, they are situated outside the cavity, outside the abdominal cavity, within a pouch called as scrotum. So testes are present in a cavity, in a pouch known as the scrotum. Now why testes are present in scrotum? Okay, so in the scrotum, a lower temperature is maintained as compared to the body temperature. So body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. In the scrotum, a temperature which is 2 to 2.5 degree less than the normal body temperature is maintained. And this lower temperature is very important for the sperm production. Okay, this lower temperature is important for the spermatogenesis. Clear? So lower temperature is maintained as compared to the normal body temperature. So here you can see in this diagram, this is a diagrammatical sectional view of the male pelvis showing the male reproductive system. So you can see here seminal vesicles, bulbourethral gland, prostate gland. These are all accessory glands. We'll talk about these Okay, and then you can see here penis, which is a part of external genitalia. Okay, then vas deferens you can see here, which is accessory. Duct. Okay, then you can see glans penis, which is the head of the penis. This is also known as head of the penis. Foreskin you can see. Testis, which is the primary sex organ. Testis is located within the scrotum. Then you can see here ureters, they are coming from the kidneys. Ejaculatory duct, this is also accessory duct. And rectum and anus, these are part of digestive system. So we'll talk about all of these parts of the male reproductive system. We'll talk about their function as well. Now the scrotum helps in maintaining the low temperature of the testes, around 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius, lower than the normal internal body temperature necessary for the spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis means sperm formation. In adults, each testis is oval in shape with a length of about 4 to 5 centimeter and a width of about 2 to 3 centimeter. Okay, so again we have seen this diagram before also. This is a diagrammatical section view of male pelvis showing reproductive system. These are testes. A pair of testes is present. These testes are located in the scrotum. You can see the shape of the testis. It is oval in shape. Clear? Now, testes is covered by a dense covering. So, testes has two coverings. Okay. So, what are these two coverings? So, one of the covering is known as tunica vaginalis. This is the outer covering. And the other covering is known as tunica albuginea, which is the inner covering. Okay, so testes is covered by a covering which protects these testes. This covering is known as tunica albuginea. So tunica albuginea is the inner covering which protects the testes, and tunica vaginalis, this is the outer covering. You should remember the names of these two coverings. Now each testis has about 250 compartments which are known as testicular lobules. I'll just show you the figure of these testes. So here you can see this is a diagrammatical view of male reproductive system, and the part of testis is open to show the inner details. So you can see the anatomy of the testes here. So testes, they are oval shaped. You can see within the testes 250 testicular lobules are present. Okay, then you can see retitestes, vas efferentia, epididymis, vas deferens. These are all the accessory ducts. The seminal vesicle, prostate and bulbourethral gland, these are the seminal glands. Okay, here you can see the glans penis, foreskin, and the urethra also you can see here. Okay, so urethra runs, you can say, along the length of the penis. This entire is urethra. Okay. Now, each testicular lobule, so there were 250 testicular lobules in a testis. Each testicular lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules in which sperms are produced. So within these lobules, 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules are present, which are highly coiled, and these seminiferous tubules, they are the site of the synthesis of the sperms. Okay, so question can come from here. What is the site of synthesis of the sperms, or where are sperms synthesized, or where does spermatogenesis takes place? So we'll write seminiferous tubules. Now each seminiferous tubule is lined on its inside by two types of cells called the male germ cells, also known as spermatogonia, and the Sertoli cells. Okay. So towards the inner side of the seminiferous tubules, two kinds of cells are present. Okay, one is the spermatogonia, another one is the Sertoli cells. So this spermatogonia they are kind of stem cells. Why they are kind of stem cells? Because they keep on dividing. They can, you can say, self renew themselves. Okay, so they can undergo, you can say, mitosis and make more copies of itself, so they can self renew themselves. Okay, then they can differentiate to form the primary spermatocytes also. Primary spermatocytes, okay, they are one of the cells during the spermatogenesis. We'll talk about these. Clear? And then there are other cells known as Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells, they give nourishment to this germ cells, and they also give nourishment to the sperms also. Now the regions outside the seminiferous tubule. First we were talking about the inside of the seminiferous tubule. Now we are talking about the regions outside the seminiferous tubule. So these regions, they are called interstitial spaces, and they contain small blood vessels and interstitial cells or Leydig cells. Okay. These Leydig cells, they secrete androgens, which are known as the male hormones. Okay. And which androgen? Testosterone. So Leydig cells secrete testosterone, which is an androgen. It is a male hormone. Where are Leydig cells present? They are present at the regions outside the seminiferous tubules, and these regions are known as interstitial spaces. So you can say these Leydig cells are present in the interstitial spaces, which are regions outside the seminiferous tubules. Remember, interstitial cells are also known as the Leydig cells. So here you can say this is a diagrammatical sectional view of the seminiferous tubule. So the inner side of the seminiferous tubule consists of spermatogonia, which are kind of stem cells, and they also consist of Sertoli cells. Then spermatogonia, you can see these are diploid, okay, 2n, and by meiosis they produce spermatozoa, also known as the sperm. Okay, so spermatogoa will undergo meiosis to form a haploid spermatozoa, or you can say spermatozoa as the sperm. So sperm or spermatozoa will be haploid, spermatogonia, they are diploid. Okay, then there are interstitial cells which are present in the interstitial spaces. Now Leydig cells, they synthesize and they secrete testicular hormones called the androgens. Testicular hormones means hormones which are, you can say, synthesized by the testicles or testes. Okay. Now other immunological competent cells are also present here. Immunological competent cells means cells against which immune response can be generated. Okay. Some of the immunologically competent cells present are macrophages. Okay. Then mast cells. These are all immunologically competent cells, means cells of the immune system. Again, we have seen this diagram. This is a diagrammatical section view of seminiferous tubules. Here you can see interstitial cells, also known as the Leydig cells. They are present here. Now, let's talk about the male accessory ducts. So these include retitestis, vas efferentia, epididymis, and vas deferens. Let's talk about the function of all of these. Okay. So these accessory ducts, they help in the storage, maturation, and transport of the sperms. This is a common function of all of these accessory ducts. Okay, now we'll understand the individual role of these. Okay, and we will also talk about the pathway of the sperm, how the sperms travel from testes to outside of the body. Now seminiferous tubules, in seminiferous tubules sperms are produced. Seminiferous tubule opens of the testis opens into the vas efferentia through the testes. Okay, so you can simply say seminiferous tubules. In seminiferous tubules, sperms are synthesized. From seminiferous tubules, the sperms are transferred to rete testis, and from rete testis to vasa efferentia. Okay, so what is rete testis? Rete testis is a network of small tubes within the testes. So it is present within the testes that collects the sperms from the seminiferous tubules. So rete testes collect the sperms from the seminiferous tubules. So now the sperms are in rete testes. Rete testes, from the rete testes, sperms are transferred to vas efferentia. Okay, now the vas efferentia leaves the testes. This is very important. Vas efferentia will then leave the testes and open into epididymis, which is located along the posterior surface of each testis. In epididymis, what happens? In epididymis, there is storage and maturation of the sperm. So you should remember the function of epididymis. Again, question can come from here. Then from the epididymis, sperm will be carried by the vas deferens. Now the epididymis leads to vas deferens that ascends to the abdomen and loops over the urinary bladder. So it loops over the urinary bladder. Okay. So here you can see this is the diagrammatical section view of male reproductive system, and part of the testes is open to show you the inner details. So these were testicular lobules. Okay, testicular lobules consist of seminiferous tubules. Okay, then you can see rete testis, vas efferentia, epididymis. These are all accessory ducts. Vas deferens, this is also accessory duct. Clear? Now, from rete testis, the sperms go into the vas efferentia. This vas efferentia, what is vas efferentia? So this is thin-walled tubes that carry sperms from rete testis to the epididymis. Now finally the sperm will reach the epididymis. In epididymis, storage and maturation of the sperms takes place. So what is epididymis? Epididymis is a coiled tube where the sperm maturation takes place. Then from the epididymis, sperm will enter into vas deferens. Okay. Clear? Now, the duct from the seminal vesicle. Okay. This, you can say, merges with the duct of the vas deferens to form the ejaculatory duct. Okay. And from the ejaculatory duct, the sperms travel to outside of the body through the urethra. Clear? So from, you can say, vas deferens, the sperm will reach the ejaculatory duct. And how ejaculatory duct is formed? It is formed by the fusion of the duct from the vas deferens and duct coming from the seminal vesicles. So they fuse together to form the ejaculatory duct. So finally the sperms will reach the ejaculatory duct, which is formed by the fusion of the duct from vas deferens and the seminal vesicle. And from the ejaculatory duct, the sperm will, you can say, move out of the body through the urethra and finally through the urethral meatus. Okay, so this is urethra, you can see here, and the end of the urethra, tip of the urethra, this is known as urethral meatus. Okay, so vas deferens. Vas deferens receives a duct from the seminal vesicles and opens into urethra as the ejaculatory duct. So these duct means these ejaculatory duct, they store and transport the sperms from the testes to the outside through the urethra. Okay, or you can say these accessory ducts. Okay, not ejaculatory duct. These accessory ducts, they store, okay, and they transport the sperm from the testes to the outside of the body through the urethra. Now the urethra originates from the urinary bladder. and extend through the penis to its external opening called the meatus, urethral meatus. Clear? So what is urethra? It originates from the urinary bladder. Okay, and it will extend through the penis to its external opening, which is known as the urethral meatus. So the external opening of the urethra, this is known as urethral meatus. So here you can see in this is a diagrammatic section view of male pelvis showing reproductive system again. So here you can see ejaculatory duct, you can see here. Okay, then you can see the urethra here, ejaculatory duct. So you can say transfers the sperms into the urethra. So urethra, okay, you can see it runs through entire length of the penis, and this is the urethral meatus, through which the sperms they are released finally to outside of the body. Clear? So here the urethra originates from the urinary bladder and extend through the penis. It extends through the penis and okay, to its external opening called the urethral meatus. So this is urethral meatus. Now the penis is the male external genitalia. Let's talk about the penis. Penis is the male external genitalia. It is made up of special tissues that help in the erection of the penis to facilitate the insemination. What was insemination? It is the transfer of the sperms into the female genital tract. Now the enlarged end of penis, called the glans penis, is covered by a loose fold of skin known as the foreskin. Okay, so glans penis, I've shown you the image of the glans penis also. So in simple word, glans penis is the head of the penis. Okay. So enlarged end of the penis or head of the penis, this is known as the glans penis, and this glans penis is covered by a foreskin, which is loose fold of skin. Okay, so this foreskin is present by birth, and sometimes it can completely retract or sometimes not. Here, so again we have seen these diagrams here. You can see this is the glans penis, which is the head of the penis, and this is the foreskin. Here you can see all the accessory ducts also. Okay, what are these accessory ducts? Ejaculatory duct. Then testis, you can see here, vas efferentia, epididymis, vas deferens. These are the accessory ducts. Okay, so here you can see what is the difference between vas deferens and vas efferentia. So basically, difference is in their location. Okay, clear? And their function also. So basically, you can see vasa efferentia is here. So sperms, they enter into testis. From testis, they will enter into vasa efferentia. Okay, vasa efferentia is present within the testes. Vasa deferentia is present outside the testes. So their location is different. Clear? So vasa efferentia, they are quite small and they are twisted tubes that connect the testes to the epididymis. Okay, and vas deferens, they are longer as compared to vas efferentia. You can see they are longer. They are muscular tube. Clear? They are arising from epididymis. Okay, so these are the difference between vas deferentia and the vas efferens. Another difference, this vas deferens, this combines with the duct coming from seminal vesicles, and this fusion, this forms the ejaculatory duct. Okay, so these vas deferens, they will carry the mature sperms because sperm maturation takes place in epididymis. So this vas deferens, they will carry the mature sperms. This is also a difference. Vas deferens will carry the mature sperms because sperms maturation takes place in the epididymis. Clear? Now, let's talk about the male accessory glands. So these include paired seminal vesicles, a prostate, and a paired bulbourethral gland. Paired bulbourethral gland means two bulbourethral glands are present. Now, secretions of these glands constitute the seminal plasma, which is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. So, the seminal plasma is the major component of the semen. Again, question can come from here. What is the constituent of seminal plasma? It is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. Okay, now let's understand the role of individually the role of these glands. So, seminal vesicles, their secretions contain fructose and prostaglandins. This fructose is very important for the nourishment of the sperms. So sperms, they obtain nutrition from this fructose. Okay. Then prostate gland. This prostate gland, they secrete a milky alkaline fluid. That forms the major component of the semen. So basically the secretions of seminal vesicles, prostate gland, as well as the bulbourethral gland, the secretions, they form the major part of the semen. And the secretions, they are known as you can say, seminal plasma. Okay, so secretion of these glands constitute the seminal plasma. Okay. Now this prostate secrete a milky alkaline fluid. Then what is the function of bulbourethral gland? So it lubricates the urethra. This is the first role. Bulbourethral gland lubricates the urethra, and it also neutralizes the urethra. Okay. So it neutralizes any residual acid in the urethra from the urination. So urine is acidic. So it neutralizes the acidity of the urine. Bulbourethral gland, which is very important for maintaining the sperm viability. Now, secretion of bulbourethral glands also help in lubrication of the penis. It helps in the lubrication of, you can say, the urethra, or you can say the penis. It also neutralizes the acidity. Okay, we have already discussed this diagram. Now, let's summarize this entire lecture. We talked about the male reproductive system here. Humans, they are sexually reproducing and they are viviparous. Okay, sexually reproducing means biparental condition is seen. Two parents are involved. One is male, another one is female. Gametes are produced through meiosis. Then fertilization occurs. After fertilization, zygote is formed, and then embryo is formed. And from embryo, entire organism develops. Okay, you should remember the correct sequence of the reproductive events here. Okay, gametogenesis, insemination, fertilization, implantation, gestation, and then parturition. Now, male reproductive system is composed of pair of testes, which is the primary sex organ, then accessory ducts, okay, which were testes, vas efferentia, epididymis, vas deferens. Okay, you should know the difference between vas efferentia and vas deferens. Vas deferens carry the mature sperms. Vas deferens is quite long as compared to vas efferentia. Okay. Accessory glands are seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and bulbourethral gland. Then external genitalia is penis. Now, each testis has 250 compartments known as testicular lobules, and each lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules. And seminiferous tubules, they are the site of the spermatogenesis, means sperm formation. Then you should know why testes are present in the scrotum. Okay, because in scrotum, lower temperature is maintained. Okay, 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius less than the normal body temperature. This temperature is required, or this lower temperature is required for the synthesis of the sperms. Now, each seminiferous tubule is lined inside by spermatogonia and the Sertoli cells. So, on the inner side of the seminiferous tubule, spermatogonia, which are diploid cells, they are present. Meiosis occurs in spermatogonia and haploid spermatozoa are formed. Then Sertoli cells, they provide nourishment to the male germ cells. They also provide nourishment to the sperms as well. Okay, to the outside means in the interstitial spaces, Leydig cells or interstitial cells are present. Now, spermatogonia undergo meiotic divisions. Meiosis is reductional division, leading to the sperm formation, which will be haploid, while Sertoli cells provide nutrition to the dividing germ cells. Leydig cells, also known as interstitial cells, they are present outside the seminiferous tubules. They synthesize and secrete the testicular hormones called the androgens, and the male external genitalia is known as penis. An erection of penis is important for the process of insemination. Clear? So now we have discussed the male reproductive system. Now we'll discuss, okay? And now we are going to discuss the DPP related to this topic. So let's begin with the DPP now. So what is the first question here? What is the primary function of scrotum in the male reproductive system? Okay, so within the scrotum, testes are present. So why testes are present within the scrotum? Okay, scrotum is outside the abdomen. So you can say testes are located outside the abdomen. So what are the options here? Production of sperms. B is secretion of androgen. C is maintenance of lower temperature for spermatogenesis. And D is storage of the seminal fluid. So what will be the answer? A, the correct answer here will be maintenance of lower temperature for the spermatogenesis, means option C is the correct answer. Okay, so normal from the, you can say the temperature. Okay, lower temperature is maintained in the scrotum, which is 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius less than the normal body temperature. Okay, so means around 35 degree Celsius. Now next question, which cells in the seminiferous tubules are responsible for providing nutrition to the germ cells? So seminiferous tubules, they are the site of the synthesis of the sperms. Spermatogenesis occurs in seminiferous tubules. So on the inner side of the seminiferous tubules, spermatogonia are present as well as Sertoli cells are present. On the outside, the Leydig cells are present, or the interstitial cells are present in the interstitial spaces. Okay, so which cells provide nutrition to the germ cells? Options are Leydig cells, Sertoli cells, interstitial cells, or spermatogonia. Okay, here the correct answer will be Sertoli cells, means option number B. Sertoli cells provide nourishment to the germ cells. Next question, which structure connects the epididymis to the ejaculatory duct? Okay, epididymis is a part of accessory duct. Which structure is connecting the epididymis to the ejaculatory duct? What are the options? Retitestis, vas efferentia, vas deferens, or urethra? Okay, so you know about the accessory ducts. The sperms, they are produced in the seminiferous tubules, and then they are carried by the rete testis to the vas efferentia, or you can say from seminiferous tubule the sperms, they are transferred to rete testis and then to the vasa efferentia, and from the vasa efferentia they are transferred to epididymis, and then from epididymis to the vas deferens. And the vas deferens, it is connected to the duct coming from the seminal plasma. Okay, so the duct coming from seminal plasma connects with the vas deferens and it forms the ejaculatory duct. So here the correct answer will be option number C, vas deferens. Now next question, what is the role of Leydig cells in the male reproductive system? Okay, again Leydig cells, also known as the interstitial cells, they are present in the interstitial spaces. In these interstitial spaces, these are the regions outside the seminiferous tubules. So what are the options here? Option number 1 is produce sperm cells. 2 Leydig cells produce sperm cells. Second one, do they produce or they secrete androgens? What are androgens? They are the male hormones such as testosterone. Okay, this testosterone is very important for development of secondary sexual characteristic and also important for the process of spermatogenesis. The next one is, do they provide nutrition to the germ cells? And fourth one is, they are involved in the transport of sperms through the ducts. So what would be the correct answer? So let's have a look at the answer here. Answer will be option number B. They secrete androgens. So Leydig cells, they secrete male hormones or androgens, which is testosterone. The next question, which component of seminal plasma is primarily contributed by the seminal vesicles? Okay. Seminal vesicles, they are the accessory glands. Apart from seminal vesicles, prostate gland and bulbourethral gland, these are also the accessory glands. So here they are saying a component of seminal plasma which is primarily constituted by the seminal vesicles. So secretion of seminal vesicle contains what? Fructose, calcium, mucus or enzymes. So what will be the correct answer? Okay, so let's have a look at the answer here. So answer will be fructose. So the secretion of the seminal vesicles, they contain fructose as well as the prostaglandins. This fructose provides nourishment to the sperms. And seminal plasma, this seminal plasma is the major constituent of the semen. Okay, so the secretions of the glands, accessory glands, this is known as the seminal plasma. Okay, so you should know the role or the function of seminal vesicles. Okay, the role of the prostate gland. Okay, clear, and the role of the bulbourethral gland or the function of the bulbourethral gland. Prostate gland secretes a milky alkaline fluid, which is major part of the semen. Bulbourethral gland, this helps to neutralize the urethra, or you can say neutralize the penis. It helps in the lubrication of the urethra, and it neutralizes the acidity which is due to urination. And to neutralize the acidity is very important, because so as to maintain the viability of the sperms. Okay, all our answers are correct. Clear? So what is the primary function of scrotum? Maintaining lower temperature for spermatogenesis. Then which cell is seminiferous tube responsible for providing nutrition to germ cells? Sertoli cells. Then what structure connects the epididymis to ejaculatory duct? This is vas deferens. And then what is the role of Leydig cells in male reproductive system? They secrete androgens such as testosterone, and fructose is the you can say the major component or one of the component of the fluid secreted by the seminal plasma. Okay, so with this we end this session. I hope this session was quite knowledgeable for you. We'll meet you in the next session. Thank you very much for listening.